Okay, I have a little bit more time, so I want to explain this question. So it pretty much asks where they get and they said stem cells, but they mean stem cells, and then how they give it to your kid. So essentially and we actually interviewed the doctor about this, but she didn't want to be like filmed, which I totally understand if you don't want to be filmed, especially like with like malpractice suits and blah, blah, blah. They probably don't know how countries work, so she was like, no camera, no like video recording or like her voice or whatever. Anyways, so essentially when we interviewed her, they take like placentas, actually more or less the cords. She said it's essentially the cords. She says there's a way that they like harvest the cord, they chunk it up, and then they allow it to pretty much sit in a certain environment to keep the viability of the stem cells, and that's how they harvest them. They're called, I can't say this word, mechesmial or something. Anyways, a specific type of stem cells. They've only derived like a certain amount known to like we're still developing technology and sciences around stem cells because they're just so interesting and we haven't like totally thought it all through yet. Anyways, so they harvest them that way. They derive them and they pretty much take away any like DNA factor, but essentially a stem cell is like a cell that can just up and be told what to become. So like your brain or your body will pretty much tell these stem cells like, hey, we need to fix this. That's where you're headed. Oh, you have a poor gut? Okay, you're going to the colon. Oh, you have, a hurt knee. There's so much inflammation. We're sending all of these there. That's why like they're in IV, so they go in blood. So inflammation, that's where blood is going. It's rushing there. But for the ones into like the spinal fluid, so then it asks like how to give it to your kids. So IV is one, like I said, in the blood. So essentially a lot of kids with autism, some of the severe symptoms that we're trying to aid or support, oftentimes it's irregular bowels. So like, let's say there's a poor functioning, like large intestine, small intestine, colon, any of these things, stomach even. If they're having any of these issues, the thought idea is that the brain's telling like, hey, we have a really problematic area. It's taking all of our focus away from pretty much helping, the brain develop or developing all these other things because our body is in a fight or flight mode. We are just trying to survive. So these IV ones are supposed to go and help aid the body in supporting whatever it needs. And then the ones into the spinal fluid, so they don't have to pass through like the blood-brain barrier. That's pretty essential, and that's why they like in the list that I made in my bio. Well, I didn't make it. My assistant made it because she's a nice lady. Anyways, she put all the ones that we approved, and we like interviewed like 100+ clinics. And these were our favorite. Like they weren't trying to like rip everyone off. Like some of them were asking like $100,000. I was like, we can go to like 10 other countries that aren't even that far away and get it for like 1/10 the price. And they're like, whatever. Anyways, blew my mind. Anyways, but yeah, so we put the ones that were like semi-reasonably priced, more like also like kind of a variety of locations because obviously autism doesn't discriminate against like geography, right? I think. Anyways, so essentially all of the clinics also do the blood-brain barrier one. So the one that doesn't have to pass through the blood-brain barrier, so it's injected into the spinal fluid. So either some call it like the cerebral spinal fluid, some call it IT. Here in Mexico, they call it IT. Anyway, so IV and IT are the methods that they go ahead and distribute them. Hopefully that helps. If you have any questions, I'll try and answer them. I have quite a few different like doctors' contacts, and so hopefully I can get them to answer them if I can't.